Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and we are here playing some Warhammer 2, and the Tomb Kings have dropped. I've been playing a lot of quick matches, trying to see kind of how the community is picking them up, what they've been playing and fielding, and then ways to counter them. So in this video I decided to bring the High Elves, see how we can decide to beat the Tomb Kings. And I brought the Order of the Lore Masters. So these guys have the awesome paint scheme. One of the things that CA did was allow you to pick several of the other armies with their sub-faction specific colorings, and it makes for some really awesome variety, adding some flavor to these. So these Dragon Princes look absolutely phenomenal, and you'll be seeing me rocking a fair amount of them. So let's go over my build composition real quick. I have 3 Dragon Princes, just chilling in the back, 1, 2, and then a third hidden on the wing, 2 Phoenix Guard, 2 double chevroned spearmen, and then a single archer in the center. So most of my money is going to be spent on these elite troops, so more than half of my army composition is going to be those elite troops. And then to back it up in the center, we have a prince here, just a mobile lord that's not too expensive. We also have a lore master, so he is going to have some important abilities of just holding out in the middle of the line. He's going to be an Ushabti slayer to buff up my spearmen, etc. Yeah, very tanky. He can also Spirit Leech against certain units. He does have the ability to regen the health on your various units, but I figured I would do that more with the Mage of Life here. So she's going to have Arcane Conduit and various other abilities to kind of raise the winds of magic and just be able to regen the health on a lot of units, and that is going to be so strong when it comes to topping off Dragon Princes and Phoenix Guard. Already the enemy is going to have a hard time getting them off the field, so those are going to be pretty powerful. Let's go ahead and look at the Tomb Kings. So my opponent has a pretty wide but not necessarily very deep composition. What I mean by that is it's a lot of kind of fodder troops coming up against my units, so a fair amount of skeleton warriors, a single halberd force, and then he's kind of just picked across the roster kind of little units here and there. So you're going to see here some of the sepulchre stalkers. On the flank you'll be seeing skeleton horsemen, archers, and I've actually been seeing a fair amount of those in multiplayer. They're very fast, very nimble, and they can just pick and prod at you for a little bit of time. Another thing you'll be seeing a lot of in multiplayer is going to be the Ushabtis with great bows, just great for taking out cavalry and heavy infantry. So yeah, those are kind of going to be his monsters and cav, and then besides that, it's just going to be a bunch of Tomb Guard, which are maybe a bit more high tier, but still can't stack up against some of the elites that I have, as well as a front line of skeleton warriors and a pair of skeleton archers. Down through the center, he does also have just a generic Tomb Prince, or actually a Tomb King moving forward. So no constructs, you'll notice here. Kind of an interesting decision, but the Ushabti is always something you want to bring. So yeah, let's see how this value build from the High Elves will trade. And I just brought a single archer unit because I didn't want to bring too many, knowing that most of my killing would be done by the Dragon Princes, having them come here to surround either lords or monsters or constructs. So they're going to be really big killers, as well as most of the infantry from the Tomb Kings. I don't really expect them to be able to crush my cavalry too much, just because you don't necessarily see them bringing too many spears, and so I could either skirt around them or knock about his infantry and really deplete them before they ever get to my main line. Then the archer force here is just used to kind of rebuff a couple little units. These skeleton horsemen are going to be poking in, but I've pulled back to the safety of the woods just to minimize how much damage I'm taking. And then I'm also going to be setting a trap here. I'm going to be sending forward Phoenix Guard to draw fire, try and attempt to pull him in, and then meanwhile sneak around the back. But yeah, one of the things you want to think about is when you're facing off against the High Elves, you can't really throw cheap infantry at them because they have such good sustain. So what I would try and bring if you're playing as the Tomb Kings is probably going to be a fair amount of Ushabti with great bows, just with range focus fire against some of the key monsters. But this force could actually be relatively versatile with his Ushabti. He's getting really up close to my guys, which is going to end up being a bit of a downside for him. I guess he was hoping to get forward and kite me, but I'm going to go ahead and spot this opportunity to just charge full force. I noticed that he has some skirmishers, both on the flanks and the center, and he would just love to kite me, but I'm going to go ahead and just do a big sucker punch right up into the chest of this Tomb King force, exploding out in all directions. In this case, I'm going to be chasing away these guys into the perfect trap. My Dragon Prince is having circled around, so I can sandwich this one and knock him out. Spearman is going to be on intercept duty to ward off these sepulchre stalkers, and then up to the center, this is where I'm pulling back with 2 of my Dragon Princes, and these guys can knock anything in the center. He has nothing here to counter, perhaps an Ushabti, but if they get tied down, they'll take a lot of damage. The only thing that could help perhaps help him out is going to be this Tomb Guard with halberds, but it's sitting uncomfortably in the back. Meanwhile, my bow is just going to be chipping away at some of his big monsters, and I'm going to keep something nearby to help them out. Actually, let's watch this charge, because this is going to be a nasty charge. This is one of the things that I don't really get too much about the multiplayer scene in Warhammer. Usually everything happens all at once in the multiplayer scene. It seems like everything just engages in one big charge. Well, they'll trade in their infantry just across the board and then throw in some cavalry. And it's just one big engagement. I don't really necessarily get that. What I like to do is, you know, do my battles in multiple stages. So come in here with a preemptive strike where and when I can with the Dragon Princes, taking almost no damage in exchange for an entire unit there, an entire other unit here. So just doing clean strikes and then pulling out and trading in with my infantry, trying to save them. And I feel that's more cost effective. But if the multiplayer guys are kind of throwing everything in the main line, cavalry and infantry at the same time, I guess there's probably something to it. I don't know. I don't really like that kind of style. And you'll notice here the Lore Master as well that I sent in by himself just to tie this down. I could have sent in my infantry, but they're going to be kept here a little bit in the rear to help me out. And then meanwhile, my pair of princes, stand your ground, going to be buffing up my guys in this engagement. And then the mage, the Lore of Life here to regen any of my guys who get too low. But so far, it's been pretty punishing. Yeah, lots of Tomb King forces starting around. Sepulchral Stalkers, who people were theorizing beforehand, would get some good trades. It would be cavalry killers. In this engagement, just really seem to be melting. And there you go. Yeah, they're melting, and then here I'm going to pop up some regen on my forces. I can't remember which unit popped on, but yeah, these guys are going to be engaged in melee. I do get tripped up a little bit in the back, so one of the things about these horsemen is, yeah, they can poke and prod at you for a little bit, but then eventually if they find something that's unprotected, they can charge right in. I'm not too worried about that archer unit. Again, I didn't invest too much in an archer force. It was just there to draw units away from the fight, pick away at Ushabti, etc. But I didn't want to invest too much in the bow department because in my early battles against Indie Pride, I was able to beat him with massing Tomb King's archer. So I figured I would do a bit more of an elite rushy build, what you're seeing here. One of the interesting things as well is let's see how these spearmen hold out against skeleton warriors. Again, he probably would have wanted to bring the Hekara warriors or other units that can chop my guys to pieces, but it's going to be easy pickings. A Dragon Prince also sent in the back. But let's watch the Lore Master here. Sent into the fray against some of the more elite guys, and he is easily going to be holding his own. Yeah, if he ever starts to, I mean, even drop down a little bit in health, I can easily just regen on him. So here we go into the second wave of mass regeneration for the enemy, but it just is not holding them out. We have the Tomb King in the center, engaged with my guys, but he's going to be feasted upon by these Phoenix Guard. Just, yeah, there goes one of those forces being pulled out, so he knows it's a retreat on all fronts. Units over here are going to try and land carrion to take out my archers, but they're still alive, and I can just come in here and cleave ho with these Dragon Princes who are having a ball of a time on this open field. Charging on through, here's another one, sending these multicolored shields flying. They are going to pick themselves back up, but take a look at how much damage was inflicted on that force. Third wave of regen to try and keep them in the battle, but across the board, everything is dropping pretty precipitously on his side. And this mage just trotting around, checking on everyone, being a little medic, and healing everyone up. So there you go, popping some abilities, Book of Hoeth, Starwood Staff, increased power reserves, and my recharge rate. So I'm getting ready here for another regen on some of my units. Dragon Princes back there are getting kind of low, trading against these Ushabti. And so I might pull her over there. For the time being, she is kind of helping this melee brawl to distract the enemy. Lots of attempts to take out my prince, but everything is collapsing. And this Tomb King caught in the center, the cavalry here, it just means that he's not going to be knocked on the ground, which means he's going to take so many more hits there. And then if that weren't enough, Earthblood popped on the halberd unit here, finishing him off. Those guys are in peak condition. I don't think I've lost like a single unit here. Some of my archers in the back are finally dropping. Some Ushabti were raised, but they were raised in the face of these Dragon Princes, which can hold out so well. I really love this composition against the Tomb Princes, or sorry, the Tomb Kings. Just so sturdy. Although he probably could have done better with some more counters to units like this, but it's hard to know what your enemies are going to pick. And these Spearmen, just such high value. If he doesn't bring Nehekara Warriors or Ushabti, your Mine Line will be doing pretty well. But then again, if he brings Ushabti, easily countered by Dragon Princes. So I feel like you can just go to town, Spearman and a Dragon Prince, like a 50-50 build in investment would do work. Pop on top of that the Lore of Life, and you're going to be awesome. The only thing that might tie you down would be the Ushabti with Great Bows. But then at that point, you just close the distance. Take a couple hits, but just get in, heal past that, and you'll be fine. And that's kind of what you're seeing here. Mass crumbling in the face of my lord. And there you go. Everything crumbles, and we are left standing with entire units just completely whole here. Pretty cool stuff. Final Ushabti does go down, and there you go. Almost no damage taken with that elite force. And I really like when battles like that take place. At the same time, I don't really like doing elite core armies. For some reason, I always like to field more numbers than value, but in this case it definitely proved beneficial, because if you try and kind of stretch your army thin with a lot of numbers, that's not really what the High Elves are built for, especially against the Tomb Kings who can field large numbers of units, and on top of that regen, yikes, you're not playing to your strength. So this here is what I would recommend. Let's end the replay and look at those final stats, see who's left standing here. So yeah, everyone basically topped off in terms of health. This one with 200 kills almost, the others with 87, 49, pretty high. Phoenix Guard as well. Even the Prince himself slaughtering 71, Lore Master of Hoa. So everyone doing a good job overall. No real losses except for the archers, but he invested a lot. You'll recall that the archers were charged by Nehekara Horseman, a Carrion, and finally an Ushabti Summon. So this archer force is actually kind of nice to bring one, just as a little bit of a counter to flying units or ranged units, but then also it's pretty good bait. You can kind of dangle it out there, wait for the enemy to commit something, and then charge in and clean up. So yeah, it's nice for a little bit of versatility. In terms of the other force here, like I said, not the best of compositions. Skeleton Warriors aren't going to get much done as would be expected. Tomb Guard might have expected them to do a little bit more in the front line, but they were just manhandled by Dragon Prince charges, and these Lords would have gone a little bit heavier with the Ushabti, Great Bows, maybe some Nehekara Warriors, and yeah, Constructs probably, yeah, wouldn't fare too well against this, especially as you expect to bring at least 1 or 2 Phoenix Guard for the High Elves here. But nonetheless, I'll be continuing to play some quick battles and kind of feel it out what the counters are. Maybe I'll try and play the Tomb King side of things and see how that goes. But yeah, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.